in the rough, rumpled skin on Mama's stomach that I imagine is still warm with the aftertaste of life. The baby stands back at a distance. He doesn't even try. He takes one last look at the lump of mangled flesh that used to be his mother before hanging his head and walking back slow into the mournful racket of the woods. Psych. We bury Mama. We watch crows pick at her skin through the burial dirt. The sun sets, and we slurp our cold beans, wordless in the dark, and Jean Hans lays down in the dirt. He starts drinking, and June and I sit across from each other in the darkness. It's between us now, this darkness, as Jean Hans scratches at his skin, digs at the elephant blood with sharp nails like killing a stain. In the complete blackness, he scratches that bright red spot, and when one spot is gone, he starts on the next. June and I don't talk, but listen to his breath. My hands start to shake, and June nips her hair as feral dogs howl in the distance, and they pace around the grave with Mama's unburied eyes black and dead and shiny, and the baby orphan. How did he know to turn and leave? I swear he walks slower through the creek, and the Jean Hans won't stop scratching. He won't. Imagine how embarrassing that'd be, whispers June, more to herself than to me, to die like that in front of your kid. There's a drop of blood on your face, I say. I know, says June. It won't go away. I tried really, really hard. The darkness has grown thick now, and the gritty sound of Jean Hans's flaking skin. He won't stop scratching as the smell goes stronger and stronger, and June sucks her knees into her chest, her fingernails marked with Mama's bright red blood in the burial dirt, and she grabs herself with these hands, wrapped around her body, and her hands start shaking as the darkness shakes too, holds me there. Feral dogs keep howling, pacing, and maybe they're closing in. Maybe there's vultures in the trees, their bodies like naked dogs with wings. The nurses held her down until my body's shaking. I burst out and say, June, I'm scared. June's sunburnt eyes now watery. Me too, she mouths, with her eyes blue now against the moon. I reach across the darkness. I close the space between us. Hands first, and my torso and legs follow. June wipes her hands of mud. She holds them out, and I crawl through the hole into this thick darkness. I crawl into her chest. I breathe and go further. My body loose spaghetti that melts as June and I tangle arms into a tight and complicated burlap knot. Then something strange happens. June starts to pick the twigs out of my hair, plucks them out one by one. I know there's too many. There's too many to clean, but I let her take them away, and they land on her lap. June puts her lips to my scalp. She inhales deep, sucking something out of my head besides the twigs. The feral dogs pace and pace, skin scratching, the rotting smell of not so. June plucks the twigs from my hair, pieces stuck underneath her nails with the dirt. She lets it stay, and I melt and give everything dark and shifty to this woman who will take them, and suffer them as her own.
Standing ovation we've ever had at a Thesis defense. That was very exciting. So, as is our tradition, we will have the advisor ask the first question, the reader the second, and then Dr. Plyer and I.
Your writing is so beautiful that it gives the impression that it just comes naturally and with ease, but we all know that's not true. So can you tell us a little bit about your writing and revision process for this novel?
Okay. So it kind of took me, so the writing process, I basically just sit in my room, and it's really not sexy. And then I wrote this book once, and then it was really bad, and then I wrote it kind of again, and it was still really bad, and then I wrote this again. So it took me an absurd amount of time to make it, and it definitely didn't feel like it came naturally. And I don't know, I think the most helpful thing was working outside, because then I didn't feel like I was boxed up in a room. You know what I'm saying? Because I kind of feel like it's all some sort of Alfred Hitchcock movie where you're boxed up in a room for a little bit. You know what I mean? Is that it? Should I answer more?
Dr. Hicks?
I just first want to say something to you guys, because I've been teaching 35 years, and I've never read anything like it. I've never seen anything like this. And I've read a lot of manuscripts, I've read a lot of novels, and it's just amazing. So I'm just really impressed. I'm grateful to you because I didn't think I could be a writer. Yeah, I didn't think I could be a writer when I was Hunter's age, and it took me a long time. And he has gotten the support and love he needs to be the beautiful person he is. So thank you very much. Hunter's book. So in fiction, there's conflict, right? There's tension, and Hunter's has this beautiful trifecta of conflict. There's the main character versus himself, like what he wants to be and who he is, and then there's the main character and his girlfriend, and there's stuff that comes up there. There's some dissonance and difficulties. And then there's the two of them against this weird, this Tom Cruise and his gang, and Ajahn Hans, who's completely untrustworthy, and they're on this moped, and they're crashing, and it's them versus the world, too. So it's just really complex work, and it's also just as fun as you hear it is, but it's also very deep and very complicated, and it's really a marvel. It's the first work I've seen of an undergraduate. After which we both said, "Oh, this is going to be published someday. Like he's going to be a writer. He's a writer." It's because of the work. It's because of the work. It's because of the work he put in. Like it's not. He didn't just dash this up. He worked really hard. So my question, finally, is: if you think of yourself, and I know you're at. Elise mentioned that he was at a conference for writers with 13,000 writers there, and Hunter just, dominated the room. Like he was great. He just walked around. Everyone was like, "Who's that guy?" But when you, and I know you're not done right now. You did a great job. You did a lot of work. It's really wonderful. Looking ahead to your career as a writer, or at least with this book, what do you see ahead of you to make this into maybe a longer work or a novel that you could publish?
Well, okay, so like Professor Noor gave me like a bunch of suggestions where she was like, very like fine level stuff and also like big sort of like scale like inconsistencies. And so I think like those are the first thing that I want to take to like do that, but also like the whole like crazy roller coaster ride of actually finding someone like to publish the damn thing seems like a whole nother, like you write the book. Then you have to like wrangle you have to like convince someone that it's a good enough idea. You have to like make them make a bad decision on your, what I mean? So it's like, that's kind of like that's like the part of dreading. Like if I like could be like fortunate enough to get this published, like that's the part of dreading, just being like, hey, do you want to do this? Like, you probably won't make much money off this thing. Like, come on, do it.
You're pretty marketable. You're pretty marketable. I think they're gonna jump all over that.
I'm a corporate stooge.
Obviously.
Thank you, Hunter. It's been a pleasure to read this all along the way in each revision, and it's just gotten so much better each time. So it's fantastic. I want to underscore what Professor Noor said in her fantastic introduction about your hard work. And I want to tell everyone that Hunter decided to audit my Faulkner class, one of the most notoriously difficult authors in American history, just because he thought it might help improve his writing. And so he's been reading the books and coming to the class along with us. And since several of our classmates are here tonight, I was wondering if you might talk about how Faulkner has influenced your work.
Okay. Well, so it didn't had I read it by myself, I would have just been like, what? And then put it down like when I tried to read Infinite Jest. I got 50 pages of it. Flip it into the back of this thing. But like, honestly, like had I read William Faulkner without like being in this class, I would have just been like, but like being in Narcisse's class, like it was like, it didn't like influence my way of writing it, like burned it down almost. And then like, so I had to go back and redo it because it was like, I think the specific thing about like William Faulkner for like, I don't know, like I didn't know anything about him before this class, but like what I learned is like, this dude is just like his sentences are just like crazy. Like they're just like da 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 da, and they're like running on themselves and like throwing bricks at you. And like I thought like on a sentence level, like I thought that was crazy and something that I kind of like copied. But then like on like an ideal level, it's like Narcisse like mapped out in class like all these like recurring images and all these recurring themes, and then like these like large-scale obsessions with like this main character named Quinn Thompson, and like seeing that map in that web and seeing like how complicated like everything can be and how much chaos that makes inside one person's head. Like I thought like that was the most accurate way that like people kind of work, is that like everything's tied into each other and the past and present is all interlaced. So that it just makes for a big like mess when you're just like going through your day to day. And I thought like that was the most like devastating and compelling way to write, and so that's why. You know?
Thank you. I see it.
Yeah.
I see it.
Hunter, thank you. This was such a joy to read. Motorbikes, fish sauce, mango. I was in Thailand again. Truly, feral dogs. I can still feel the scratch from the fleas. In any case, I want to ask you that you're an environmental science major, and I won't mention the villain being a botanist because I disagree with that. But I would like to ask you how those two things intersect for you. So, how does being an environmental science major make you a better writer?
Oh, interesting. Oh, that's a tough one. That's kind of like grilling me.
Being a writer make you better environmental scientist?
Well, so like, okay, like, I think like, I chose to be an environmental science major because like, I think that I'm like, really like high strung and being outdoors like lets me just like relax. You know what I mean? And so like, I figured like, if I could get a job where I'm outdoors all the time, then that's what I would kind of want to do. And like, I don't know, I think that like, honestly, like this is kind of grilling me. Okay. Because like, it's like funny because like, I feel like the science side of my brain does not work. Like the past 2 summers, no, I'm serious, like the past 3 summers I've had like environmental science jobs, and like people have been like, dude, be more meticulous, like really care about these numbers. And I'm unable, like I can't even like, I was talking with boss today, and we were like doing some formula stuff. And I was just like, how do people even come up with this? And like, it almost feels like it makes me a better writer. Because I'm just like, oh, I need to do this, or else like I'm in this world of numbers where I just like drown. But also like, I think though, if I could have a job where I could do environmental science stuff without rigorous research requirements, I'd totally do that, you know? Yeah, park ranger, just arrest kids who smoke weed. Yeah, I don't know, I think, all I know is that like being outside and writing are the 2 best, almost sometimes, I think. And I think those 2 kind of inform each other in a way that I don't really know how. But yeah, I think that's it. I just got grilled.
Well, would anyone else like to grill Hunter?
Come on.
Or ask him a polite question. Either one is fine.
I think they're in awe.
All right. All right. Then please join us all in thanking Hunter.
If you would like to attend more honors theses, and I invite you to do so, we will meet again at 2 o'clock in Main Hall 135.
Is that AM or PM?
On Monday! 2 p.m. on Monday.
On Monday.
Yes.
See us then.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
The man without a roof. What did they say about that? Is that a joke, actually?
He always has a wet bed.
See, there you go. Get up there.
So, yeah, we are waiting for Zach to come back from sushi. So in the meantime, I thought I'd read you guys one of the poems that he wrote about sushi. It goes like this. Sushi. It's like an impossibly small and dark hole that is inside rice, but also it's inside a piece of seaweed. So that when you eat it, you're eating the seaweed and also yourself. Thank you. Have a great day. I just try to keep everyone from revolting, you know?
Yeah. Hate for there to be a mutiny.
Come on, put your kids on.
Come on.
Put those fucking kids on. Let's
I
go.
thought that would be
Alright, thanks. Have a good night, guys. Thanks, Kyler.
There used to be so many stoner metal shows here, and like that, primitive dance, like the ones in the body, yeah, multiple times.
Damn.
I wouldn't express that. It's also kind of.
Zach, get the hell up here, boy. Hey. Alright, so basically, me and these two boys and Jack Hammock, the boy in the black hat, we've been at this shit for a couple of years, and you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it. And so the zine is called Good Dogs Get Put Down. And sometimes it's true. And to start, I'd like to read a little excerpt from Bill Clinton's My Life. Because who else knows about it?
Kneel for the anthem.
Romans 23:22. When I was born, my dad put me to work chopping logs. He used to chop logs without a shirt on, and I would do the same. And sometimes I'd look at him and say, Dad, why do you chop wood without a shirt on? And he'd look at me straight in the eyes and say, son, sometimes good dogs get put down too early. And so with that, we're gonna start this thing. This is dedicated.
All the good dogs.
All the good ones.
All the good ones.
Soon to be put down.
Death is
Yes,
imminent.
sorry, we
Yet
love
to
you.
be put down.
Oh shit. Sorry, I'm not a pervert. Sorry.
Take them off.
Sorry, you're crazy. Thank you. It's for my mom.
Okay. This poem is called Fret. It's like an impossibly small and dark hole that you are inside, but also it's inside you, so that when you climb out into yourself, and when you climb out of yourself, you crawl back into it.
The best poets.
Hey, bring that shit up like 10%.
You hear
Is
this?
that an option?
I think Zach might.
Do I have mic stuff?
Yeah, wait, can you hear it?
Say
Can
something
you guys,
loud.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, we're starting this shit over.
Take two.
Some bass in your voice.
Alright, this poem is called Fret. It's like an impossibly small and dark hole that you are inside, but also it's inside you. So that when you climb out into yourself, and when you climb out of yourself, you crawl back into it.
Oh, should we get the music cut too?
Yes.
Yeah. You know what they say, guys? Sometimes movies take a couple takes. There's a story of when Tom Cruise was filming Mission Impossible for the first time. And like he was like 17 then, and they said, Tom, like you better like sharpen up your shit on the set. And he was like, he's like, I'm 17 years old, dude. Like so he was like 35. Yeah. Moral of the story being, sometimes you do have to cut the music and start it over again.
Those are some good boys.
These are some good boys.
Tiny boys.
Tiny boys.
Yeah. It's you.
tell us the story of how the zine came to be?
Basically, this took us 2 years. It started off, it was one zine, and then we said, I don't know if we like this, and so then we did another zine. And I think that's basically the story of how it came to be. And like, yeah, I don't know. I think so.
Well, we're glad you made it. We're glad it's all over.
How do you print it?
So basically, like, there's this program called InDesign that, like, instead of like printing it off as a Word document, where it just prints it off like straight, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and like, you know what I mean? It's not hard to describe it.
Can you go into depth, please?
Oh, I use a computer printer that's hooked up to this like computer at the school, at like our school. But it's funny because our school only has one room that you can print the zine off at, and that uses the program that you can use to make the zine. And so sometimes on the weekends it's locked, and so sometimes you have to peel back the screen on the window and sneak inside the room to be able to use the computer to print out the zine. That
would make a good.
Can I go to the bathroom?
Read Fred again though before you go.
Is it a big job or a little job?
Which was good, boy. Yeah, that's crazy. I think we just have the place. Yeah, we just have
But I really do want to get the music.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't find anyone who would do it.
I think we say fuck it. I think we do it.
Talk about
No.
It is. It's soundboard's up there.
The guy with the colored hair.
Yeah, the green hair?
Yeah.
No.
He wasn't there.
Wow.
Shut up.
Yeah, I think we should just read
Should
this
we
in.
just read through it? Alright. I don't know though, all that pop music might kill the vibe. Oh, there we go. Maybe that's something. We'll see.
I don't know, do you guys want to hear more about Bill Clinton?
Yeah.
I can't see any of you. It's very disconcerting. Talking to faces that you can't see.
Play the piano.
Piano Man. Yeah. Play some Piano Man.
Hunter, read us the great poem Piano Man.
Oh yeah, there is this great poem called Piano Man. It's 10 o'clock on a Saturday, and the regular crowd shuffles in.
9 o'clock on a Saturday.
There's a man at the table next to me.
He's old. He's an old man.
He's a very tiny man. He's making love to his bottle with gin. He says, "Son, can you play me a melody?"
Alright, we're good. We're good.
Okay, thank God. All right, that was enough. Everybody, this is the final scene. We're gonna read it.
Then never again.
And then never again.
And then these are getting burned. Every copy. Okay. Well, I guess I'm gonna read Strat Wars. Okay. Frat. It's like an impossibly small and dark hole that you are inside, but also it's inside you. So that when you climb out into yourself, and when you climb out of yourself, you crawl back into it.
The best poets I know are snorting cocaine and Vicodin off a cracked mirror in a littered room where Bruce pulls in smoke through black bong water and Zach stumbles over shattered foys and damns the rat in his bed with callus. Outside, that starving dog growls at us through the fence. When it was left to die, we watch it grow strong and sad and bite its chain and howl, and soon it will escape and follow us everywhere.
Untitled. Her hands had lost their spirit from bandaging the wrist of a blind girl. At the house of imported goods, you can still buy Lucy's for less than $1. At least some things remain. If there was ever beauty and permanence, I could never see it. A cloud of smoke with a bit of rain can keep you warm tonight. One day, the soul in her hands will stop shaking, and she will smoke our generation's fill with the calmness of a girl never expected to know how to check for a pulse in the dark.
This is an excerpt from a play that I wrote, and the play is called The Moth. Oh, I think if we allowed ourselves to just look at each other quietly and boldly, we would at last make sense to each other. We know there is a world behind us. We are inside it, though I believe we consist wholly beneath it. You are the only thing that quite rhymes with moon, and you become moon, the moments when you cease to be here and when you are full. Our distances are flower and cerebral, like tiny dreams inside dreams that keep us awake as they are happening. I really am brave. You don't believe in love, and I am alive because I believe in the human gesture, the dance of limbs and the honey light that you love. I am a quiet person, and you encase me. Should I become birds? I think maybe birds. I think maybe yes. J. Birds are intense, and you are intense. Though you contain wings, I think you become moths, soft, misguided by moon, entirely destructive because of an abundance of moon, bits of moon and moth. That's you. Oh, you are a very pleasant person, Jay. You are too.
Woo! The woman on my front porch is 19 and talking about marriage. Drinking wine, smiling at her legs rested upon my lap. Long, smooth legs covered in poison ivy as if she gives a damn about my toilet which she just clogged and now rests easy, loving the suspense. And I play hillbilly music on my guitar and worry because I got friends who are already divorced and who have already gone insane. And just then my finger slips as the strings snap and the guitar is left singing an ugly song. She takes another sip of wine and asks, "What's the next note gonna be?" I sit there dumbly, staring at that shaking guitar in my shaking hands, and the house shakes too, but settles when she moves her hand up my spine, grasps my head, and pulls me close into her breast. It is like how exorcists part the ocean, and then are consumed by the healing wound.
With a body full of nostalgia, she moved. Beneath the soft ache of moon, I stared. Ashamed and drunk enough for more, I stared. Disgusted by a gaze void of speech, I spoke. Nothing of the grace my mother exhausted concealing her addiction and raising her son. No. I placed the pill bottle of methadone back in the mirror with the newfound grief of mirrors. Instead of all that jazz rattling beneath my eyes, I spoke of how Hendrix died with a throat full of vomit and a soul full of sakuras.
This poem is untitled. When Aphrodite threw Venus into fire, she smiled because she was beautiful and unfathomable, and there was no loveliness like hers. She undreamt the world, and I undreamt her into rain. There was no loneliness like hers. When she stooped into midnight where I lay starless in her bedroom, wondering who's not falling, could I walk backward into this world where her oldest star was dreaming, then you beat air into moonlight and her last blue feather into lift, till I danced 10,000 years, sank back into myself so slow.
It was all vaguely kismet, but I really didn't want to talk with you. I now believe the zealots who burn phones like witches waiting for intangible proof of death spells and radiation, but mysticism is for the unexplained, and if ever my diagnostics showed tumors, I would know it was from the benign talks, the ones where you call me and authentically cry like a butchered wolf and laugh at the cynical jokes I tell to cover my detachment and contempt. Contempt for you allowing your esteem to be stabbed by that dirty needle maternity. I don't want to talk to you, but it's your birthday, and last week you called me on your pill-filled deathbed pleading for prana and pillow talk. So today, out of love for your life, I'll die and give you both.
Girls. I wore dresses as a kid, would chase my cousins into the ocean and laugh on shore because they couldn't swim forever. At 10, I sang on the stairs in Ma's bra, hollering lines from Lion King until she took me to the big house of Holy Cross and water. And when I got to hanging with the boys who kissed girls and spanked them in the hallways, I cut the shit. And now I can remember being so drunk at 18 and squeezing into Miss Sullivan's panties all rowdy and high and angry at the art and the boys laughing at my white ass as I trip over bottles and get thrown to the ground.
I see hard people with hard lives. Ugly, lonely people